in the book. Now, what do we mean by our love and belonging needs? These are our people needs. Our needs to form important and significant relationships with other people. Who are these other people? Family, relationships with friends, relationships with people at work, to develop relationships where we feel affection. So this level of need is our need for other people, for our interaction with other people. Now, once again, don't forget the theory. Before Maslow predicts, before a person moves up to these belongingness and love needs, that they would have reasonably had to have satisfied their biological need, and then their safety needs, and then they would move up and become aware of their belongingness and love needs. Now let's move on up and talk about our esteem needs and self-esteem. In this particular model, this says esteem needs, but I would like for you to break it down as it does in the book on page 348 in terms of esteem and self-esteem, because those are sort of different, slightly different in terms of that particular level of need. But esteem needs, our needs for achievement, status, responsibility, and reputation. But for test purposes, I'd like for you to break it down. What do we mean? What's the difference between esteem and self-esteem? When we talk about esteem, we're talking about our view of how other people see us in terms of the value that they associate with us. You know, if a person holds you in high esteem, you know, they think that you're a good person. You know, they feel that you are an achiever. You have achieved things that they really sort of look up to you. So when we talk about esteem, you know, it's how we feel that other people feel about us. When other people look at us, you know, how do they see us? You know, what value do they attach to us? Now, hopefully, obviously, they hold us in high esteem, which means that they really respect us, recognize our achievements, recognize the things that we do. So, once again, esteem is how other people, our perception of how other people view us in terms of the value that they associate with us. Self-esteem, and the term itself sort of suggests this, is how we see ourselves, the value that we assign to ourselves. You know, the self-respect. You know, how we view our own worth. Now, a lot of these apply more to esteem, but self-esteem has to do more with how we look at ourselves, how we value ourselves, the self-respect, the self-esteem that we have. Okay, so once again, you know what we've done. Let me sort of repeat the theory. You know, the theory suggests that before a person moves up to the next level of need, and you don't have to break that down into each one of these needs, but the theory says that before a person moves up to the next level of need, what they would need to have done is to reasonably satisfy the level of need down below. So you can sort of generalize that, but if you want to break it out, that's wonderful, and I'll smile for when I grade your test, because this is an important question, and I'll be up front with you. You know, this is one that's likely to be on your test, and you can break it out and say before a person moves up to safety needs, they would have needed to have satisfied their basic biological, physiological needs. Before they move up to love and belongingness needs, they needed to satisfy their biological needs or safety needs. Before they moved up to esteem needs, they would have needed to satisfy their biological, safety, belongingness, and love needs. And we're going to talk about self-actualization in a minute. But just remember that you can generalize it, that before a person moves up to the next level of need, they would have needed to have satisfied, and we could say reasonably satisfied, the level of needs down below. Now, another thing that I would like for you to do, and the book tells you about this, is recognize that from these four levels here, this is what's called basic needs. These are sort of what are referred to as deficiency needs. We're motivated when there is something lacking, and we're motivated to sort of fill in that void of what is lacking. Now, self-actualization, and even though I'm tall, you know, it'd be sort of a stretch for me to reach all the way up there and point to that one. That's what's referred to as a growth need or meta need. So for test purposes, you know, one of the things I'm going to be looking at, in addition to what we've already talked about in terms of the description, is for you to recognize that these are basic needs here that are sort of based on our need to satisfy something, sort of a deficiency that needs to be satisfied. But self-actualization, according to Maslow, is what's referred to as a meta need or a growth need. Now, what do we mean by that? This is our need to sort of go beyond ourselves. You know, our need to grow, to achieve things that you know, are not necessarily life-sustaining, are not necessarily related to any of these deficiencies down here. What do we mean? Persons need to, you know, produce a musical composition. Persons need to write a novel. Persons need to write a poem. You know, all of these are growth needs. Our need to go beyond ourselves and achieve something that we haven't done before. A person's need to run a marathon. You know, it may be a very personal thing. You know, a person's need to meditate. A person's need to pray. You know, this is a growth need. It's not a deficiency need. It's to get us to a higher plane of existence. And these are very important. Obviously, this is a very human need, and we've talked about the frontal lobe before. But these growth needs or these meta needs certainly would be something that we would think would be associated with the frontal lobe. Our need to go beyond ourselves, these meta needs, these growth needs. Now, once again, you know, this one is right at the top, and the theory applies. Before a person can become self-actualized. And Maslow, I think, was a bit pessimistic because he felt like a lot of people really don't, you know, achieve self-actualization very much. But before a person can become self-actualized, you know, they basically have to have taken care of their deficiency needs or their basic needs. And all of us, fortunately, experience those times of self-actualization. It's those times where we have to sort of pinch ourselves and say, life can't be this good because it just seems so wonderful. You know, life seems to be full of possibilities, you know, and wonderful things. But unfortunately, as the theory predicts, you can see that you know, the self-actualization you know, sort of takes up a smaller portion of this pyramid, this hierarchy. But as the theory predicts, you know, the most self-actualized person, if something happens in their life, some deficiency in their life, then they're not going to be self-actualized for a period of time. Now, what I would like for you to also do, and you know, hopefully, you know, this is enough on the theory itself. What I'd also like for you to do is to be able to analyze a situation based on Maslow's hierarchy. Now, let me put up a different overhead here. And let's see, maybe I need to make that a little bit bigger. If I can. Okay, I'll just slide that down. Okay, this is what we would have done in terms of a group activity, but we're going to do it, you know, here. And if I put Maslow's question on the test, and as I've said, there's a very good chance that you know, this is going to be on the test. What I'd like for you to do is to be able to sort of look at this situation. And if I put this one on the test, it's not going to be Mary. You know, this is, you can see, this is about Mary. And actually, this was one of my former students who, you know, her life situation sort of fit, an analysis about Maslow's theory. And, I asked her permission, and she said, oh yeah, now I've embellished a little bit. It's not Mary, her name was not Mary, and I've embellished, changed just a couple of things, but basically, this was a person's real, life, situation that you can sort of look at in terms of Maslow's theory. Now, if on the test, it's not going to be Mary. It'll be set up the same way, and these are going to be hypothetical ones that I've just sort of made up. It'll be somebody else's name, it'll be somebody else's situation. But I'll ask you to do exactly what we're doing here. What I'll ask you to do is to read the segment that describes something about that's going on in Mary's life, and think in terms of Maslow's theory. What level could we sort of think of in terms of Maslow's theory that would be most sort of descriptive or help us to understand what's going on in this case, Mary's life. So let's go through this. Now, one of the things, you can see that I want you to explain. So I want you to pick out the level, and on the test, I only want you to pick out one level. Now, I'll tell you as we go through these, for any particular segment, there may be a couple of levels that you could, reasonably say applies to, in this case, Mary's situation. And this is where the explanation comes in. So that two of you could select a different level, but if your explanation sort of matched, the situation and matched the level, then, even though you had different answers, you both get credit. Now, some of them, some of the levels wouldn't apply. And so be sure, that you select a level and provide an explanation that does apply to that situation. So let's go through this. And you can see, and you can read along with me here. Mary was a 40-year-old mother of 3 who was happily married and worked full-time. She and her husband had relatively high-paying jobs. They used their income to finance a safe, secure, happy life that included a beautiful home, nice cars, and many family activities. So what I want you to do, and what you would have done if we were doing this in terms of a group activity, I would have asked you to select what you consider to be the level of Maslow's hierarchy that most match what was going on in Mary's life. And I think, if you look at it, then Mary looks very self-actualized at this point. There doesn't seem to be a lot of deficiencies in Mary's life that need to be, filled. There's not a lot of needs that need to be filled. So the explanation could go along the lines of this, that the level that seems to apply most is self-actualization, because Mary's basic needs seem to be satisfied. All those basic needs that we looked at seem to be satisfied. But let's go on and see what happened in Mary's life. As you can see, although on the surface, Mary seemed very content with her life, she harbored an unrelenting need to earn a college degree. Although she was professionally successful, she regretted that she got married and joined the workforce shortly after she graduated from high school. Her professional and personal interactions were primarily with college graduates. These interpersonal interactions enhanced her feeling of being a second-class citizen. After her youngest child entered school, Mary took the opportunity to enroll in college as a commuter student. She continued to be a full-time wife, mother, and employee, but the stimulation provided by the collegiate environment provided her with the energy to excel as a full-time student without sacrificing the other aspects of her personal and professional life. Now here's one. Here's a segment. Here's a description of Mary's life that I think that you might be able to justify and explain a couple of different levels, but I think the one that most applies in this case is esteem and self-esteem. Obviously, Mary felt like a second-class citizen, so I'm picking that out of the description. She felt like a second-class citizen, so it affected her self-esteem. She didn't feel as good about herself as she could have because she was lacking a college degree. She interacted professionally with people with a college degree, and so she, I'm sure at times, sort of felt like they might look down on her, that they didn't hold her in as high esteem as they would have as if she had a college degree. So the idea is that this deficit or this need motivated Mary as a returning adult learner to become a returning adult learner and to come back to college. So that would be probably the best sort of option. Now, I have had some people, some groups, when we did this as a group activity, who sort of focused on love and belongingness. That, certainly it refers to the fact that Mary has a family. And so, some people sort of focused on, well, maybe she went back to college because of her concern about her family, to be a better role model for her children, to be able to provide even better for her family, to provide some stability, for her family. So she was concerned about her family. It would be a stretch, but you could even say, safety and security, that by getting a degree, her job was more safe and secure and so on and so forth. But, if you, once again, if you select a level that is reasonable and your explanation sort of fits, and sort of logically sort of explains why this level could apply to this particular aspect of Mary's life, then again, you'll get credit. So that two people can have two different levels, but they explain it well, and so each of them get full credit. But for me, and hopefully for you, the best level in this situation would be that Mary is concerned about her self-esteem and also esteem. Let's go on and take a look at what's going on with Mary. During the second semester of her collegiate work, Mary's life changed suddenly. While she and her family were not at home, her beautiful home went up in flames. Insurance covered some of the cost, but not enough to completely replace the house and the possessions they lost. And certainly, the insurance could not replace the emotional ties to their home. Many professors were very understanding and allowed her extra time to complete her work during the time she was trying to reestablish her life. So Mary was able to complete her second semester. Mary pre-registered for the fall semester, but at that time she did not realize that she would experience other challenges in her life. So what's going on with Mary here? Obviously, her house burned down, and which level of Maslow's hierarchy sort of best sort of describes where Mary might be sort of operating at this particular time. And for me, this would be safety and security. And I think that if you talk to someone who tragically has had their house burned, that it makes them feel like they've lost their safety net. The roof over your head is your safety net. So safety and security. And what would be the explanation? Well, your home is where you feel safe and secure. And if your home burns, then you lack that feeling of safety and security. Now, some people, and I would accept this, have put physiological. And quite honestly, it's true that the roof that you have over your head, your home, sort of protects your life, that without it, your life would be somewhat in jeopardy. So, I've accepted, in terms of, groups doing this, physiological needs, those biological needs, that having a roof over your head actually protects your life. But again, I think the best one, and if you were doing this as a group activity, the one that I would hope that you would select would be safety and security. And you would provide an explanation that your home is what provides you with this safe environment. And if it burns down, then you have a need, you have a deficit that you're motivated to satisfy. Let's move on and look at what happened with Mary. During the summer, one of her children was diagnosed with an illness that was ultimately curable, but one that required long-term medical care. Also, the company for which Mary worked downsized, so Mary had to find another job. Her new job was more time-consuming and paid less. The final blow came when Mary's husband told her he was leaving her for another woman. Mary did not return to college the fall semester. So here, this suggests the theory that because Mary was so focused on another level, she went to college to satisfy her esteem and self-esteem needs, but now we're going to see that she has dropped to another level, and that level is so consuming that she then dropped out of school. Now for me, and hopefully for you if you were doing this as a group activity, the most obvious level here is love and belongingness. Her husband left her. This most significant relationship in a person's life. And so, this loving, hopefully loving relationship, this relationship with a very significant other person, has gone away. The person has left her. Her husband has left her. So, if you looked at Maslow's theory, you would say that it certainly is love and belongingness. Now, you could sort of select the same level and talk about it in terms of the general family. Obviously when a relationship breaks up, and we've already said that there were children in this relationship, then it's going to affect the whole family. So you can sort of look at the family disruption. Some people have sort of focused on the fact that, Mary here has, been downsized, and she also has, had to find another job. And so you can sort of say maybe safety is an issue here, because a job provides you with a certain level of safety. Also, she has some children who are sick, and we can sort of look at that in terms of love and belongingness, or relationship with her children. We could look at that in terms of her concern for her family's safety. So, you could make an argument either for love and belongingness, or an argument for safety. And you might even make an argument, for esteem and self-esteem, which would be a logical argument in the sense that, she's, sort of lost her job and had to find another job. And obviously that affects how a person feels about themselves. And certainly, if a person leaves you, in this case, a wife's husband leaves her for another woman, this is going to affect her sense of self-esteem, and then probably, other people will look at that person a little bit different, like, and what'd she do? Led her husband to leave her for another woman. Again, you could. So here we've looked at three levels, that might apply, as long as the explanation would fit. Now, again, for me, the one that I would focus on would be love and belongingness, which talks about those very important relationships with other people. And to me, the most important thing in this particular section is that that relationship has been violated. Okay, let's go on and take a look at Mary. It took about 4 years to reestablish her personal and professional life. She happily remarried. Her child regained its health. She rose through the ranks in her new company to a level that exceeded her previous position in her previous company. After an absence of 4 years, Mary returned to college. She was rewarded for her drive and determination. When she earned her baccalaureate degree with honors, I guess I should have slipped this up. Let me start reading that one again. It took her about 4 years to reestablish her personal and professional life. She happily remarried. Her child regained its health, and she rose through the ranks in her new company to a level that exceeded her position in her previous company. After an absence of 4 years, Mary returned to college. She was rewarded for her drive and determination when she earned her baccalaureate degree with honors. Mary now has a sense of personal fulfillment in both her personal and professional life. So once again, here, I think that you can see that Mary has satisfied, once again, her basic needs. So I think the best choice in this case would be to say that Mary has returned to a state of self-actualization. And I can tell you, having observed this person, that she was once again very happy and just sort of looking to grow and to reach new heights in both her professional life and her personal life. So self-actualization. Now please remember, when you're going through this, you're looking for where a person is in relationship to Maslow's theory. So in this case, it's pretty clear that Mary's basic needs have been sort of taken care of. So we would look at that in terms of self-actualization. I've had some people who sort of looked at it in sort of an inverse way, and it sort of leads to the analysis not making a lot of sense. So please, sort of look at what level is that person sort of functioning at, or sort of at in relationship to Maslow's hierarchy. And again, provide an explanation, and if your explanation matches the situation, then you'll get full credit for that particular level. Now, just to give you, and this is not what I want you to do, but just to give you an example, if a person said, in going over this particular level, that this particular level, this last one, was associated with physiological level, I don't think I would give credit for that, because there's no indication that Mary's life is being driven by these basic needs for survival. Those have been taken care of as they were at the beginning of the description of Mary's life. Okay, I've been going for a little over an hour, about an hour and 7 minutes, and then probably this is going to be plenty for you to work on until we get back. So what I'll do is I'm going to close here, and let me sort of once again sort of tell you some of the things that in terms of housekeeping. What I'll do is once Mr. Bell has uploaded this to YouTube, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed and keeping in a prayerful position that this is going to work, that he's going to get it up to YouTube, and by this afternoon you'll be able to give me that link, either by this afternoon or tomorrow. I'll be able to put that link on Blackboard. So once again, you'll need to access Blackboard and go to Course Documents, Open Course Documents. Now there's some other documents in Course Documents. The extra credit rubric is in there, and there's one other document that I've forgotten right now that's in there. But you'll see there'll be a link that says the link to the course video, and it will be an internet address. And I'm going to try to do a hypertext link, but that didn't work very well last time. So you'll probably have to actually type in the web address, and hopefully that will take you directly to the YouTube video. I'll also send out a group email in Blackboard. I know that it works because when I did that before, several of you reported that you got the email. So check for that email on that USC system, the USC email system. And once again, I'll send you that link. And also, what I'll do is I'll attach this analysis of Maslow's hierarchy to that, so that you can sort of go through this and practice doing the analysis for test purposes. So, once again, I hope you're having a great spring break, but please take some time to cover this particular chapter. As I said, I'll be glad to sort of go back and answer some questions, but I'm not going to go back and recreate this whole hour and now 10 minutes. What I want you to do is to sort of get the content from this video presentation, and then we'll move on to the next chapter when you get back on Tuesday. So with that, I'm going to sort of go get Mr. Belk and ask him to sort of turn off the video camera, and then we'll be through for today. And I'll see you next week.